grab maybe about 3 right here in the hand and just have it underneath my armpit right here. And so therefore, can then, with a bit more stability, load these and then get right to work. I still find that when I'm releasing, it does kind of pinch and it's a little uncomfortable on my fingers, but you know, I still have enough grip on the arrows and on the bow just to be able to make it work. So not a big strike against it, but it is kind of tricky getting that to work. So yeah, so it's almost like there's a pinch. My ultimate theory about what this is and where this comes from, and that it may not actually be Byzantine, but was in use among the militaries of the Byzantines. So in 1071, the Battle of Manzikert happened, and it was such a disastrous battle that basically every resemblance of the order of military beforehand, from recruiting from Romans and Armenians, was not really viable. So Alexios I had to revamp the entire system of the military and basically relied 50-50 on mercenaries and foreign troops. So it was no longer just taking foreign troops and recruiting them into the military as professionals. We're talking about like actual hiring of foreign troops who've received foreign training because they're foreign. So basically going back, you know, even before the foederotic system of the 6th century, it's basically what we would think of using a mercenary system for that reason. So at this point, archery itself kind of just dropped off among Byzantine use. Not entirely, but mostly. So at that point, we see an uptake in Turkic mercenaries specifically, because there's the Seljuks, then you have the Patinaks, Pechenegs, and the Kipchaks. They were in the 12th century as well. And of something that adds up to my point is that he's using a Turkish bow, and we know that the general trends in this time is that archery basically was passed off to Turkic mercenaries. So whether they're Kipchaks or Patinaks, a lot of the artwork does also seem to portray Patinaks as well, specifically with their kinds of hats and their styles particularly. So I actually don't think that this technique was something that was done by the Romans. It may have been done by these mercenaries, and the Byzantine artists saw that, thought it was cool, and decided to give them some presentation in the military saints and their iconography. But, however, I do think that it may have been something that was adopted by the aristocrats in leisure shooting. So target shooting and basically circus shooting for the most part. And we do know that based on some archaeological dig sites of some burials for nobles, they did have some thumb rings among them, which my thumb ring, which is based on a Byzantine design, is based on one of those aristocratic burials. So would I suggest people do this technique? Yeah, sure. I would suggest people do this technique if you're looking to have some fun and you want to really show your Lars Anderson skills. Would I suggest people who are practicing Byzantine archery theory, mainly the theories that I propose and I give out in my videos, would I suggest that people do this? Personally, no. I wouldn't personally practice this, one, because it seems to be more 12th century, which is just, within chronology, it's a little out of the scope of what I practice. I practice generally 6th and 7th centuries and then go up to 9th and 10th centuries. As well as a little bit of 11th century as well, because the 11th century is when Manzikert happened. Basically practicing something that's sort of post-Byzantine, some sort of aristocratic shooting, then something like this would be very fine. But when it comes to just actually being able to put up the pragmatism that is purported in these manuals that we get the information of Byzantine archery from, I wouldn't really suggest this because it's really just all about basics. You know, just simply mastering taking out of the quiver, loading it, and drawing to a specific point in which you want to demonstrate some kind of power or some kind of precision. So something like this, as Studianus would say, as he said, not a matter of technique, but just a matter of rapidity. Nonetheless, very interesting style, in my opinion. It doesn't really help that I'm not good at it, but at the same time, you know, there's a first time for everybody. And something like this really does bring up some interesting questions of what really is Roman, what really is not Roman. And I propose that because this is something that I imply this is mercenary, it's not really Roman at that point because it's not something that's adopted by the professional troops. We have to understand that Roman itself is not an ethnic identity. And I've gotten some comments about it. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I've gotten some comments that say that there is no Byzantine archery, simply because it's not ethnically Roman. Firstly, it doesn't have to be ethnically Roman to be something that they practiced. Cultures throughout history always adopt from other cultures. There's always cultural diffusion. It's literally a phenomenon that is natural. It happens all the time, especially among the Romans, who are known for being able to do this. Therefore, based on their cultural practices of absorbing outside materials, it has to be Roman at that point. But for something like this, because it's specifically something that I theorize is a mercenary kind of thing, something that is really dedicated to being outside and wasn't really absorbed by professional Roman troops as a practice of their own, then I can't really call it Roman at that point. And of course, I'll have a whole video eventually on the whole concept of what is Roman archery and what isn't Roman archery. Nonetheless, it's a cool little technique and having a lot of fun with it. Don't really prefer it because I guess I'm just squeezing a little too hard based on how I've taught myself how to do archery. So every time I release, it's just kind of pinches between the arrows.